Hello guys, welcome back. As I had told you earlier, I'm Sadawin and I'm here to take you through supply chain uh, management, all the whole concept of supply chain, so that you can understand how things work in the supply industry or in the supply chain industry. Um, I had made an introduction and I had introduced one of the topics, which was supply chain management, and we spoke about talking about at first. Now today, right now, I want you to understand the concept of supply chain. The word supply can be defined in two perspectives. One of the perspective is economically. In economics, supply means that these are the amount of goods that are available for consumption or to be traded in the market. So in economics, this is about the availability, the amount of goods that is available in the market. And the opposite of it is demand, which means that demand is what is required in the market. So in economics, demand versus supply, it's about what's available in the market versus what is required in the market. But when you come to supply chain, it takes a different perspective. In supply chain, supply means the movement of goods from one point to another. You will find that if you are a businessman or a business lady or an organization, you will find that you will be producing goods. The goods that you are producing, depending on the number of goods that you are producing per day, you will need to expand your sales. The people around your production area might not be able to buy everything, and even if they were able to buy, there is the growth perspective. If you produce goods today and you're selling everything that you're producing, definitely you should be looking ways on how you can produce more so that you can increase your sales. You go look for customers outside the locality that you are located, or the place that you are located. So you find that in supply, we have goods that are distributed within the area of production. At the same time, we have goods that are being distributed, going as far from as different from continent to continent. Right now, economically, we are saying that China was one of the largest trading country. You find that China is trading with partners in different countries throughout the world who are becoming partners of the trading, for example, agreements that they make and all those. Africa, we are not been left out. We are also part of the partners trading with China. So you find that there is movement of goods from, for example, here in Kenya to China. At the same time, there are movement of goods from China coming to Kenya. Now we want to look at that concept, that perspective in terms of in supply chain. How does it move? You'll find that in supply chain, the chain flows. A chain is a movement from one point to another. You see, like when a frog jumps, or jumps. When a frog is jumping, uh, or when even an hare is hopping. When a frog, for example, let's talk about a frog. When a frog is jumping, it jumps from one point to another, just like that. So also in supply, you have to move these goods from one point to another, up to the point whereby these goods are going to fall in the hands of the final consumers, a person or people who are going to take the goods. They're not going to distribute the goods anymore. Now these goods, before a good is ready for distribution, there's a process of making that good. The good comes as a raw material. For example, if you're talking about sugar as the goods that we are trading, sugar is gotten from sugarcane. So a farmer has to plant sugarcane so that the sugarcane now will be sold to manufacturing companies for production purposes, for it to change from the raw material, which is a sugarcane, into the finished goods, which becomes now sugar. So the first channel goes from the raw materials, the goods becoming as raw materials. They are taken to manufacturing, where they are turned from raw materials into being now finished goods. Then now from the, in fact, in between, before even they go for manufacturing, there's a supplier in between. A supplier is the person now who takes the goods from the, for example, from the, let's say, assume if you're talking about sugar, from the farmer to the factory or to the manufacturing company. Whether this supplier is a farmer himself, or is the one producing these goods, or is a trader, we refer to him as a supplier because he's the one providing the raw materials for the manufacturing country. So the first step of supply chain is the raw materials. You have the raw materials that is going to be turned into finished goods for movement or for the trade to take place. Number two, you have the supplier, a person who is going to move these goods from their location of raw materials into the manufacturing, where they are going to be turned from being raw materials into being finished goods that are ready to be traded. The third stage is the manufacturing. Now the turning of these goods from raw materials into finished goods. Then fourth is about distribution. You have now the finished goods. Assuming that we were talking about the sugar cane has been turned into sugar now. How do you distribute this sugar up to the point whereby the sugar is being produced in certain area, but now the sugar is being used through the world? Now distribution is about movement. Now we have different distribution channels. You can talk about from the manufacturing point to, let's say, warehousing point. From the warehousing point, you take this product to the wholesalers. From the wholesalers, you take them to retailers. From retailers, they sell these products to consumers. Now remember, not all products follow that long channel, distribution channel. Manufacturers, wholesale, warehousing, wholesalers, retailers, then consumers. Not all products. Some products, depending, there are products which narrow that down into manufacturers to consumers, direct like that. There are products that go to manufacturers, retailers, consumers. There are others, so it depends with the products itself. Then now, after the distribution, which is the first stage, there's a issue of retail location, where how do you enable that your products are available everywhere? You find that, talk about Coca-Cola, if you go to rural areas, you go to urban areas, you go to Africa, you go to Asia, you go to South America, any continent, you will find Coca-Cola. That's about the distribution channel, plus how do you ensure that your products are available retail, because the consumers will only consume, will be reliable, and will be consuming your goods if they are certain, or they are assured that anytime that they will be in need of these goods, the goods will be readily available in maybe their local shops. I cannot be proud to consume a good of which I don't, or I'm not sure when I'm going to find these goods again, or where I'm going to find it. So you must assure us that if we decide that this is our choice, our consumer choice, this is the products that we're going to consume, then these products will have to be readily available, so that anytime that we need these products, we can easily buy it from our local shops. Then the last stage is the consumers, because you cannot produce goods if you do not have people to consume those goods. And the consumers determine, talk about the demand. How highly is the demand? If there are fewer consumers, then definitely the demand is low, which means that you will have to produce low, otherwise you are going to go for a loss or something like that. If consumers or people are consuming the goods, these goods are increasing, or there are many, that means that the demand is very high. So you also have to increase the production to ensure that you are doing what you are satisfying the demand that is in the market. Now with that, in supply chain management, there's a couple of things that go around all that supply chain management. The first thing that we are talking about is information. Information has to flow. When you are demanding goods, you have to request for these goods. When these goods are available, you have to give assurance to consumers that the goods are available. So information flows inwards and outwards, or what we can say upwards and downwards. You see, to all sides information flows, from the demanding side and from the supplying side. You must give information and all those. Then the element of the cash flow. When you are going to acquire these goods from maybe as raw materials, you have to pay for these raw materials. Yeah. When you are producing or when you are manufacturing, you are changing these goods from raw materials into final products. There are many materials that you are also going to buy in between. You have to pay for those. When consumers are going to make their orders, they will have to buy all those goods. So in every stage there is movement, or as the goods are moving from one stage to another, same as the funds or finances are moving, also the cash is moving from one person to another, in that it helps the movement of these goods products. Then we have another one is logistics. Logistics takes an element of fast transport. For you to ensure that the goods are locally available for consumers to consume, you need to ensure that you have let's say transport facilities that will move these goods from the manufacturing point into the let's say the retail shops that will be in different places. You will need, for us to order goods from China, this goods needs to be transported by either sea transport mode of transport, or by air transport mode, whichever, but the goods needs to be transported. Another element or aspect of logistics is warehousing. When you're moving these goods from one point to another, for example, when you're bringing goods from China to Kenya, you need to find a space where you are going to store your goods, as you maybe deal with the legal requirements, for example, like paying of duty and such like. You need a storage space to be assured of your security of the goods, and many other factors. Another element of logistics talk about we have talked about warehousing, we have talked about transport and all those. Then we have procurement. Procurement is acquiring or purchasing of different goods. If you want to produce your goods, at first you have to procure the raw materials. Then apart from the raw materials, there are many other products that supporting services or supporting goods that you will have to procure or buy, either in every department. You see, every department relates to the main activity or the main object that you are producing. So every department has got its own requirements, of which you have to procure and buy. Then we have talk about the sales and production development. Once you have produced your final goods, you have the final goods, you have to promote your sales. The sales department has to ensure that these goods are being distributed out to the market for consumers to buy. They will have to ensure that they are selling as many goods as possible, so that also when you sell more, you increase the profitability of the organization. Now that's about I think with that you understand now the concept of supply chain, how the flows of what flows around, how this goes about. uh, then next we have what we refer to as the internal and external supply chain. External supply chain, these are the goods that are coming from outside the organization. For example, goods like raw materials, they're coming from outside organization, unless the organization is producing its raw materials by itself. For example, if you talk about tea factories, there are some of the tea factories who have their own tea plantation. If you're talking about producing sugar, there's some of the sugar factories that have their own sugarcane farms. So you will find that unless an industry or a factory has got its own raw materials, then definitely most of the raw materials come from outside. There are other supporting documents like stationaries. They will have to be supplied from outside. Machines and all those, they will have to be supplied from outside. And when you talk about internal supply, when you buy these products from outside, sometimes you put them in a central place, which is a store. Then the stores department will have to distribute now these products to the user departments, the departments that requested for these goods. Now that essence or that activity of supplying goods, taking goods from the stores to different departments, that's what we refer to as internal supply or internal supply. Supplying or movement of goods that happens only within the organization itself. Now next we have what we refer to as the elements or scope of supply chain management. We have 4 elements of supply chain management, and one of the element is integration. Integration, to integrate, is bringing many activities or bringing many activities together, so that the advantage of this integration is that you are going to reduce many human errors. You are going to deal with things like delays strategically. You will reduce things like overstocking or understocking, which means that you are once the departments are relating well, then you know the right quality. Remember in our the previous video we spoke about determination of the right quantity to purchase. You are going to do proper planning and all those. So this integration is going to help in management of activities in supply chain, making the right choice, because all the you are ensuring that all the departments are working as one. There is good we find there is good relations, or there is good communication channels throughout all departments, so that there is no going of this blaming one department from other. So you are also going to have conflicts within yourself as an organization. Then the second element is the element of operations. Operations, it means that you need to do accurate and real-time representation of your inventory and production schedule in order for you to monitor the output, and also focused on the production and the demand that is there, so that you can reduce the operational cost. So operations is about the activities that take place in the organization itself. So for you to ensure that you are reducing this operations cost, You need to entirely do what is right to avoid unnecessary costs. Carrying out activities that are not necessary. Those are the activities that we want us to avoid, and all those. And also you need to improve your profitability by doing what we call a prediction, or a forecasting, demand forecasting. You need to ensure you're checking out your demand. At this point, is the demand increasing or the demand is decreasing? If the demand is increasing, you also increase the production. If the demand is decreasing, you decrease the production, so that you can avoid extra costs, or you can avoid losses by, when the demand is decreasing and you are producing more, you are going to have many goods going to deteriorate, or even most of the goods are going to get spoiled, so which means that it will increase the loss. At the same time, if the demand is increasing and you are producing less, it means that you are not going to satisfy the demand, and the impact is that you might lose customers for such mistakes. Another element is purchasing. Of course, if you need to produce the output, there are some inputs that you will need to bring on board. For example, for you to have the main object to deal with, you must purchase the raw materials, you must purchase the machines, the stationery, those what we call supportive goods. All these must be purchased, so you need to know which is the right time to purchase. Are you purchasing at the right cost? All those activities must be put in place, and others. Then lastly is about distribution. There are four elements. Distribution means that how do you ensure that these products are reaching the final consumers? Which is the distribution channel is most effective with your products? So with these four elements: integration, operations, purchasing, and distribution, will make it easy for you to carry out your supply chain management properly. We are talking about supply chain management decisions, that strategically making the right decisions after going all those above, what we have said above. You will ensure that all they will lead to ensuring that you're making the right decisions, whereby at the end of the day you are not overstocking or you are not understocking, and you are doing what we call customer satisfaction by ensuring that the customers are always getting what they require without delays, at the right quality. They're buying at the right prices. You're not accelerating the prices, or you're not overcharging, or you're not even undercharging, because if you quote low prices, the customers will feel, or the consumers will feel like if you're charging low, then that is a low quality product. So you must ensure that you are quoting the right prices for those products, and of course that will ensure that there's customer satisfaction. I will stop there for today. Next, under supply chain management, we will talk about purchasing now as a department. We will understand what we mean by purchasing. Why do we need to have this purchasing department in place? What are the objectives of this department, the purchasing department, and how does this purchasing department relate with other departments? For example, the production department, the sales department, the HR department, IT department, and those other departments that are in the organization. Then we'll talk about the internal organization of purchasing departments, how purchasing department can structure itself to ensure that it's carrying out its activities effectively with that. And if we look at that, I think we will have done with another topic. So let's meet next, either in this supply chain management unit or in other unit, talking about academic issues around supply chain management in other unit or in this unit. All the best. See you. You know what I mean.